Before we get started, just want to remind you, November 15th, free 4-day trading workshop. Details in the show notes. Look forward to seeing you there. Hey guys, Akil here. Want to remind you that we still have that 14-day trial membership offer on our website, www.tier1trading.com. Also, today we're going to talk about adding too many strategies. Akil, do you get to a point where you're trading so much that you really can't add much more, or at a certain point do you just add new daily strategies only because they're less hassle to monitor? So yes and no. So I would say at this point in my trading, so I trade a lot, right? I am an advanced pattern trader. I trade ciphers, bats, Gartleys. I suppose there's room to add more advanced patterns. I'm not really interested in anymore, but those are the three I trade. I am a structure-based trader as well, so I trade support and resistance, as well as a pullback trader. And I guess pullback, and these are broad terms, they could be, many patterns could be into pullback. So I would say this, I'm not necessarily looking to add to what I trade, meaning I'm not looking to add like a MACD cross strategy or anything like that, because I have enough to take advantage of all market conditions, and that was my main goal. Is like, can I be dangerous in consolidative markets? Yes. Can I be dangerous in directional markets? Yes. Like, that was my main goal, to be able to have opportunities no matter what the market is doing, long, short, tight and coiling, or flowing and directional. The main thing that, at least in my experience, that I've looked to add, or that I have added or evolved, I guess you can say, is the way I trade what I trade. So I don't really trade anything new, right? I haven't traded anything new for the last maybe 10 years or so, but how I trade them changes. So if you go to like my CTS structure trading, right? So I used to require a Fibonacci structure, a double bottom, RSI overbought, RSI divergence, like a CTS 9 to take a structured trade. And it had to be a double bottom for an entry, double bottom or double top for an entry. There's no other entry reason than a double top or double bottom. As I've evolved as a trader, I've been able to adjust that where I can trade higher high, higher closes, or even like a single candlestick, something like that. Does that make sense? So the strategy, the actual strategy hasn't changed, but I would say like the aggressiveness of how I trade it changes, but not necessarily adding new strategies, if that makes sense. Now, as far as adding new strategies go, again, and I am interested in filling out my portfolio. So we talked about this before, right? I eliminated day trading not prematurely, but sooner than I wanted to last year, or whenever 2020 was. I think that was last year. And I would like to have something on the daily time frame. Now I don't have that yet, but I would like to have that as a quote unquote separate business. A strategy on a daily time frame that I can literally check once a day. Because that's a portion of my portfolio that I don't have covered. There's a void there. But I think there does come a point where you can do too much. And if you have a million strategies, I think the two problems with that is, one, confusion, right? You get overwhelmed. I told you I had a story. Me and my buddy Roy, we were pretty bad traders together. We were in your shoes in a live room, and we sucked, and we're sending each other messages like Billy was saying, like, "Hey Roy, can we hook up this weekend? Because I was bad and I need someone to talk to about it." But we were trading 20 pair portfolios, and we just couldn't handle 20 pairs. And we did the same song and dance over and over again. More is better, more opportunities. We just became overwhelmed by the amount of opportunities that were on 20 pairs. And again, this is as we were newer traders. So we're not, it still takes us a good amount of time to do analysis. I'm not sharp the way I am right now, where I can kind of see things immediately. Back then, it took a lot of work to find a trade. So we were missing all types of trades and all types of stuff because we just traded too much. So that's one thing, just kind of becoming overwhelmed. Another thing is you got to understand the more ways you trade on a chart, especially if you're going to take advantage of consolidation, breakout. Breakout is the one thing I would add. And it's not really an addition, but it's more of being aggressive. That's the one thing I would add to my portfolio, breakout. A breakout strategy, but very specific patterns. But the one thing about trading too much is that whenever you add something, you run the risk of conflicting signals, right? Everyone wants to be a counter trend trader and a trend following trader, but you don't realize that there's going to be a conflict of interest at some point, because every time, not every time, but a good amount of time, whenever price action breaks that structure, you're going to or gets the structure, you're going to have an opportunity where you're probably already long, but you're also going to have a short signal. And it's like, how do you deal with that? Not just from a technical perspective, but mentally, because mentally that will wreck you. And I've been there. It will wreck you. You will be on a yo-yo. I don't know if you guys ever watched like old school like WWF or WWE wrestling where they're throwing people off the ropes and they're just bouncing back and forth before they get clotheslined. Like that's how it is doing that. Because you're long and then all of a sudden you're short because you got another signal, and so you get out of your long to go short, and then your short goes long. You're like, oh, you get back in your original long position and get out of your short, and then clothesline. Right? So that's very tough because you have to sacrifice in your rules in order to have things not conflict with each other. So there's only so much you can do. You can imagine if you're trading 80 million different strategies, there's going to be a conflict at some point. So becoming overwhelmed and dealing with conflict of interest or multiple signals or conflicting signals, that's probably the biggest hurdle you'll have to overcome. So my thought has been, again, cover all directions. I was talking to Naomi about this morning where she was like, hey, what do you do when you get this big swing and the market's not going to break it for like years? Like, how do I trade it? So have multiple ways to trade that don't conflict with each other, and then work on being more, maybe not work on being more aggressive, but I think naturally you tend to become more aggressive the better you get, because you no longer need to wait for the same type of confirmation. That intuition starts to play a part, and you're like, I know what we're doing here. And you allow yourself to become more aggressive. So I know back in the day, Chris Mills was trying to check something like 20 pairs on the 15-minute chart, but quickly cut that down because he couldn't watch that much. Yeah. Look, I couldn't watch more than 6. Now, again, it depends on the signal, right? If I go back and I show you something like the SSL thing I had on, right? If it's something where you're looking for just like let's say you got an automated signal where it gives you just like a red arrow when it's time to buy or a red arrow when it's time to sell and a green arrow when it's time to buy, right? Something like that is a lot easier because you're not really doing analysis, right? Like if I'm just looking for a cross, I can probably watch 20 at the same time. I'll just, program a little indicator to ding or have my chart light up when I get a signal. Right? Like this right here. Because if I know I'm on a 15-minute chart, I just make sure I can scan all my 20 pairs on a 15-minute chart, look for that one signal. Now, if you're actually doing analysis, active analysis, you've got to reduce it because that's a little bit more work. You're going to be late. But there is one solution to that. And Orsi mentioned it. Just get more monitors. So one of the reasons I have so many monitors, if you're new, we have this running joke if I get on these monitor rants where I talk about how many monitors I have. And I don't brag about how many monitors I have just so you can be like, Akil is awesome because he's got so many monitors. I talk about how many monitors I have to prove the point that as a trader, you don't need that many monitors. So the only reason I have so many monitors is to show you that you can be successful having a lot of monitors like I have. But you don't need as many monitors as I have. I have a lot of monitors just for the fact that I have a lot of monitors, but you don't need it. But if you wanted to, you could be very successful with this many monitors. Does that make sense, guys? I got a lot of monitors. you guys enjoyed the episode. As always, if you want more free content, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just YouTube search Akil Stokes and it'll take you right there.